Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Today I'm going to play, or at least attempt to play, one of my early childhood favorite games, Jawbreaker from Sierra Online. I guess it was Online Systems back then. This game was released back in 1981 for the Atari 8-bit computers. Well, actually, I think the Atari 800 only. I don't think it would run on the 400. And the Apple II series computers. This game, when I got it in cassette form. And I remember waiting 20 plus minutes for this thing to load on my Atari. So normally I'd go start the cassette load, hop on my dirt bike, go pick up my neighbor, bring my neighbor down, and by the time my neighbor made it over to my house, it was usually almost ready to play. But it was worth the wait. This game I loved. It was back in the early '80s when everybody had Pac-Man fever, and it was Sierra Online's answer to Pac-Man, where you're a set of jaws and you're running around eating candy. But if you eat the jawbreakers, all your teeth fall out and you lose a set of dentures, I guess, and start over again. When you are out of dentures, you're done with the game. If you complete a level, a toothbrush comes out and kind of cleans your teeth for you to make you remember to brush your teeth. But anyways, this was my very first arcade-style computer game I got for the Atari 800. In fact, I got this before my parents even bought me a floppy drive for the computer. I only had my cassette drive, and again, this thing was just painfully slow to load. The cool thing, maybe one of the reasons why I really like this game, is if you notice the artwork I've got displayed there, that is the cover art for the game. And back in the day, those game covers were just a piece of hard paper stock, like cardboard, that they would print on the inside, usually the instructions, and on the outside was attractive artwork to try to get you to buy the game. And the cool thing is, my dad is actually the one that did this game artwork. He met Ken and Roberta Williams when they first moved up to Oakhurst. I worked for the local phone company up at Oakhurst, so when Ken and Roberta moved up there and started Sierra Online on Mudge Ranch Road, which was their house, he was the telephone installer that came and put their phones in. Gosh, I already died. That's pathetic. So they got started talking about art, and my dad was an artist. He loved painting. His medium was typically either watercolor or oil base. I guess he showed Ken and Roberta some of his artwork, and they told him basically what they were looking for, and he came up with the concept for the Jawbreaker artwork, and they loved it, so they commissioned and bought it and used it for the game. He ended up doing artwork for a couple of their games. One of them was Cranston Manor, which I believe is their high-res adventure number 2. Actually, I think it's high-res adventure number 1. Their first high-res adventure game, Mystery House, was number 2. But he did Cranston Manor, he did this game, he did a game called Sabotage, a game called Pegasus 2, and this. Oh, and very early version of Threshold. I know that that artwork got changed a few times over the course of a few years, but he did the original one. And trust me, you guys, I used to be a lot better at this game. I used to know the pattern, because there definitely is a pattern to it, just like with Pac-Man. But I've since forgotten that pattern. And the other handicap that I'm experiencing right now is I'm using an original Atari joystick, and this thing is a piece of junk, and it's not working correctly. So if it looks like I'm having spasms and purposely going in the wrong direction, it's not. It's because of this stupid joystick. God, these little jawbreakers are fast. But anyways, I grew up in Oakhurst. My family moved there in the early 70s, and thanks to my dad, I got to meet Ken and Roberta at a pretty young age, and then Ken's brother John lived up the street from one of my good friends, so we'd go over to John's house quite often and play test games that Sierra was working on, which was kind of cool as a young kid, hanging out with these 20-something-year-old computer programmers and play testing all their awesome games. Let's see here. I really wish I could remember the pattern. Anyways, you guys, if you know a source for some good original joysticks, or at least good joysticks that work on the original 8-bit computers. Would love to get one that works better than these old clunkety ones. I remember dealing with this when I was a kid, and you'd snap these joysticks. It seemed like they would snap so easily. You getting excited playing a game and moving your character around, and all of a sudden click, and you hear the joystick pop, and it doesn't work anymore. My parents were constantly buying me replacement ones. I think the Waco joystick was one my parents finally bought me. Oh, see, I didn't mean to go up. And it lasted a lot longer than these original Atari joysticks. I'm trying to remember how best to control this thing, and I'm finding if I just put my thumb on the top of the stick, it seems to move around a lot better. But, you know, this is the joystick I'm using. The original. Actually, no, this is a knockoff. But the original design, and apparently the same original quality, because the quality of this thing sucks. Back to Sierra Online. You know, my dad did a bunch of the artwork, so I was hanging out there quite a bit, and we got to play test some games for him. I had a computer bulletin board back in the early 80s that I had on my Atari, so we were constantly, you know, sharing the latest Sierra games on there. Probably shouldn't have been doing that, but we did quite a bit of them. And I do remember one memory with Sierra Online is dumpster diving. And I know it sounds tacky, but you know, when you're living by this giant, famous software company in the early 80s, oh my gosh, this joystick. And you're, you know, not a poor kid, but you know, parents didn't have a lot of extra money. They did quite a thing just getting me the Atari 800 to begin with, but they didn't have a ton of extra money. They didn't want to spend money on a bunch of computer games that they thought were just an absolute waste of time and not a good investment. Well, we'd go dumpster dive at Sierra Online and find diskettes that for whatever reason they would throw out. And I don't know if they, you know, if they found a bad disc in the set of discs for a game, they would just chuck them, or why they would throw all these discs away. But we could find, you know, literally hundreds of diskettes in the dumpster at night and take them home. And you know, a lot of them were garbage and we couldn't do anything with other than format them and use them as blank discs. But every once in a while we'd score and we'd get some of the games and take them home and play the games. Let's see here. And then later, you know, I started hanging out more and more at Sierra Online, and you know, I was telling John about this computer bulletin board that I had, and they thought, hey, they need a bulletin board at Sierra Online to provide kind of tech support and maybe a little bit of hints. There's one thing I learned about Sierra early on with their adventure games is they were really in business to sell hints, whether it be a hint book that had the game hints, or at one point they had a 900 number or a 976 number that people would have to call in for game hints. So they made some of their games really, really difficult for the sole purpose of selling hints. And it worked. You know, that one adventure game that I got, I think it was my first or second or third adventure game I ever got, was called Ulysses and the Golden Fleece. And got stuck in a couple of places in it, just could not figure it out. And I figured, well, you know, this is a story, a mythological story, and there is a book that covers this subject. So I went to the library and checked out the book, read the entire book, and was quite disappointed when the book didn't help me at all with the game. And later I talked to some guys at Sierra, and they kind of laughed when I told them what I did, because they said, no, we didn't write, the game has nothing to do with the book, other than the name. But some of those early adventure games used to get really frustrating because you just couldn't figure out what they were trying to get you to do. But I still enjoyed them. I still played, you know, Mystery House, Ulysses and the Golden Fleece. I'm sure there's some other ones that I just can't remember right now. And then when I got my Atari ST, I started playing the King's Quest series and then Space Quest series, which I really, really enjoyed, and then Leisure Suit Larry, which was just a kick as far as I was concerned. I was a teenager, and they had these stupid questions that they would ask you to try to prove that you were an adult and could play the game. And, back then, you didn't have the power of Google to look up these answers, so you had to go ask your parents. And they'd question, well, what do you need? What are you asking these strange questions for? And it's like, oh, I'm just doing something for school. It was anything you could do to get into the game and play it, and thought you were going to see something, and you didn't. Leisure Suit Larry was pretty benign. Come on, joystick. This joystick is just too much. So anyways, I need a joystick, guys. Or I need to start playing text, or not text adventure, but the old graphic adventure games. So I don't need the joystick, but... And just as a little plug too, the way I loaded this game today, it was using my Fujinet. And if you don't know what a Fujinet is, I'm here to tell you. Oops, I just heard a click on the joystick. Hopefully it's, there's a lot of clicks now. I just broke the joystick. We can go down and we can go left. And that's it. So there goes another joystick. Anyways, I've loaded this game on Fujinet, and a Fujinet is basically the Swiss Army knife for Atari computers. It allows you to hook up your 8-bit computer to your Wi-Fi. On to the TNFS server. And you can see it plays pretty well until I just broke the joystick, and that really bums me out. Oh, I got up. No. I remember when I was a kid, I used to take these joysticks apart, just come apart, and would just press the buttons by hand that were in there. Because generally what happens is there's a piece of plastic that pushes down on 4 buttons, and that piece of plastic breaks. Oh, wow. I guess rolling it on it. Nope. Yeah, holding it upside down, almost got it to work. But I think we're done playing that game since there is no more joystick. But anyways, I'll restart this and show you kind of what Fujinet looks like. Fujinet is a device that attaches to your Atari computer and, again, attaches to your Wi-Fi. It also has an SD card built into it. And the SD card, you can store disk images on that locally. You can copy them from the internet and store them on the SD card. And load it as if there was a normal drive. It's also a modem emulator and a Atari 850 interface emulator and a printer emulator. So you can actually print to modern printers now using this Fujinet device. And this is the main Fujinet screen. You can see there I've got, where is it? BC Quest for Tires on there. I've got Necromancer, which is another one of my favorite games, Canyon Climber, and Jawbreaker. And those are mounted in just drive slots, drive 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I can boot to them individually, just like as if I had a floppy disk in the computer. So we're going to boot right now BC's Quest for Tires. And it's going to do it the same way. It's going to bring it via the internet onto my computer. Maybe. And I'm going to try this one more time. What is going on here? There we go. Let's see what comes up now. And I think I'm learning here that I'm going to need to stream on my other computers. I don't think this computer is quite powerful enough to run the stream the way I need it to. But I'm still learning. Right now we're loading up image 1, which I believe is BC's Quest for Tires. For some reason it doesn't seem to be wanting to boot correctly. As currently this is loading off of an Atari 130XE. It's got quite a bit of extra RAM in it. It's got 320K of memory. It was an upgrade that the previous owner did to it. Let's see. BC's Quest for Tires is another one that I really enjoyed when I was a kid. I remember playing that pre-release at Sierra. They had a group of us from school come over after school because they wanted us to try out this new game. And it was BC's Quest for Tires before they released it. I thought it was fun. It was just a side scroller, kind of reminiscent of like Pitfall. I doubt this is going to work with this joystick. Is all you've got to do is go up with the joystick and down. Yeah, cool. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Can you hear that? I'm not sure why there's that artifacting going on the right side of the screen either. Yeah, this joystick is toast. I need a joystick, guys. There is nothing. That little... Congratulations. Yeah, I made top 10 score only because no one else has played the game. I'm not even sure if I can do it. There we go. Try it again. Oh, got to jump that time. But you're trying to rescue the cave woman. That's the whole idea of this game, is you got to make it through this obstacles, because the cave woman, as you see her yelling, help, help, help. Oh, can't go down. And without being able to use the joystick correctly, there's very little, if any, hopes. Holding it upside down helps. Oh, I've got to jump. Hey, you can duck. Although it's kind of going against what you would normally do by holding the joystick upside down. Instead of jumping, you go down. This one, I'm probably not going to do very well because I don't have a joystick that moves. But somehow you got to get past that without getting smacked. And I can't remember, because she's like down. Every time that turtle is up, she's down. And there we go, we died again. Anyways, I got to go find another joystick because this isn't going to work without a joystick. And my stream's kind of cutting out as well. So go see if we can find another joystick and then move this over to a computer that's got a little bit more horsepower and see if we can do a better job with streaming.